Even though it's in the bulletin, my wife said I could not tell everybody today was her birthday, so I'm not going to. And she said, whatever you do, do not tell people I turned 50 years old today. I said, I won't. So I'm not going to. I was watching, if I can have just a few minutes here. I was watching the news last week, and I seen some of the most troubling signs I've ever seen in a march, a protest, whatever you want to call them. One of them literally said, there is no God, he's dead. Right past him was the most disturbing one I've ever seen. It said if he is alive when he comes back, we're going to kill him again. And that literally broke my heart. And it really got me on a path of thinking. And I wanted to give a little bit of a testimony. And coming down the road this morning, I said, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to waste them people's time. And the devil really started playing on me, so I'm making myself do this morning. If I can, before I sing a song, I want to tell you about 4 events in my life. One when I was 7 or 8 years old, and I think Meadow Baptist Church, a bunch of kids went down to the altar. Back then, kids went to the altar, and adults did too. A bunch of kids went to the altar and got saved, and I thought, man, maybe I need to do that. So I went down there and I recited the prayer that preacher told me to pray. I feel a bit different. I acted like I felt different. I wanted my parents to think I felt different. I wanted the attention. And years go by, and that day troubled me a lot. And as I got to being an adult, I forgot about the Christian upbringing I had, about the values my mother and father taught me, about the values the church taught me. Even though I wasn't saved, I'd been in church all my life, and I turned out to be an intravenous drug user, just a junkie. Had the long, scraggly hair, did a lot of things I shouldn't do, and I was just a drug addict. And I thought, well, where's God now? Because all my upbringing, and this focuses on bringing your children up in church. The whole time, during the 11 years I was doing intravenous drugs of anything you can imagine, and a lot you can't, I kept thinking, where's this God at? So fast forward, I get busted. The DEA raids the place where I'm at. And when the DEA come in, I don't want to be too graphic, but I had a needle in my arm, and they looked at me and they yelled police, and they said, don't do it, don't do it. And I pushed that needle just as far up my arm as I could. And I went out. And as on my way out, I thought, I'm dying. This is it. It's over. I'm tired of it anyway. It's over. I need to back up. I missed something. June 9th of 1989, after being on drugs for about 11 years, I was trying to drink that feeling away. I was trying to shoot that feeling away. I was trying to smoke that feeling away. And just something in my soul kept bothering me. So my car tore up, so I walked to the store to get another 12-pack of beer. While I was there, I didn't have a phone. I used a pay phone, and I called Brother Lloyd Ferguson, an old preacher friend of mine. And I was walking back home. He said he'd meet me at my apartment. I was walking back home, and I thought, man, I don't want to see him. Why did I call him? So I just stopped on the side of the road and sat down beside an oak tree and started drinking my beer, and he pulls up. He said, get in, Randy. I said, I got my beer, Brother Lloyd. He goes, bring it with you. I thought, okay. That's like riding around with a cop with beer. You know, you can ride around with a preacher with beer. Ain't nothing going to happen to me. So we got back to my house, and I felt the presence of the Lord as he prayed with me. I mean, I felt the presence of the Lord just like I know Corey's sitting right beside me. Just like I know y'all are sitting right there. I felt the presence of the Lord that much, and I got saved. And for the next year and a half, I lived a good life. And on my way home from church one day, I passed by a house where we used to do a lot of drugs, play a lot of guitars, and drink a lot of beer. And I thought, I wonder what them guys are doing. And I remember I just had sang Thanks to Calvary at that church and then I was on my way home, and I thought, let me just ride in there and see what they're doing. As soon as I turned on that dirt road, I knew what was going to happen. God kept telling me, son, don't do it. And I'm like, I'm just going to visit. I'm just going to visit. I knew what I was doing. So for the next 13 years, I got a lot worse off than I ever was. I don't see how I'm alive. I OD'd several times, had heart valve infections from dirty needles, lower stomach infections from the heroin. But I got busted. The DEA come in and I got busted. So I go to court. I sat in jail for 2 weeks, and I finally went. I couldn't get Mama to get me out this time. She got me out a lot of times before, but this time they wouldn't let me out. So when I went in front of the judge, it was this little pencil judge, little old bitty scrawny judge, And he looks at me, he goes, well, he said, I'm inclined to give you 12 years, serve 8, be out in 6 in the state penitentiary. I thought, oh, Lord, I have messed up this time. I'm fixing to go to prison for 6 years. He said, but there's a thing called drug court. I thought, what is that? He said, it's a 2-year outpatient program. You work, you go home. I thought, that's me. That's what I want. He said, but you're too old. He said, you do way too many drugs. He said, I'm looking at your drug test results. You've got way too much in your system, and you've been doing it way too long. He said, you'll never make this program. I said, I'll try it. He said, the caveat is, if you don't pass this program, you serve the full year, 12 years, door to door. I'm a drug addict. I want out on the streets. I want to get back to my drugs. I said, I'll try it. This little scrawny, ugly man turned out to be one of the best Christian men I've ever met in my life. After he sent me to jail 6 or 7 more times for a week at a time, he finally got tired of my shenanigans because I kept coming in testing dirty for drugs, even though I was in drug court. And he looked at me, he said, Randy, he said, I'm telling you, he said, God told me to put you in this program. He said, but now I'm questioning whether I heard him right. He said, if you fail one more drug test, he said, I'm putting you in prison for 12 years. He said, go to jail. And I'd go with the bailiff. And on my way out the door, me being the smart aleck I am, I said, I can do 7 days standing on my head. He said, good, take another 7, get back on your feet. So I went to jail for 14 days. I thought, me and my smart aleck mouth. But while I was in there, we're in one pod with 38 other men, and we're just in this pod all day long with bunk beds. And they come by, and we don't get out of this, no recreation time, no nothing. You just sit there all day. And they come by and they said, we're going to have a church service. Who wants to go? And I thought, man, I just got to get out of this cell for a little bit. I said, I'll go. So I went to the church service, and the Spanish preacher got up there, and I don't know what he said. I couldn't tell you the first word he said until he got to the very end. He said, everybody come down to the altar. And we all just sat there. He said, no, everybody come down to the altar. And we sat there. He said, I'm not letting you loose until everybody comes to the altar. So we went down to the altar. He said, everybody get on your hands and knees, get on your knees, get on your knees. And we all got on our knees. He said, Father, save all these people. And he literally looked at everyone and said, you are now saved, you're going to heaven. And when I got back to my jail cell, boy, that really bothered me. I thought, how many people are going to die and go to hell because of this man? I thought, maybe somebody meant it. Probably not. And I got on my hands and knees and I prayed to God. I said, God, I love this dope more than I love you. I love this dope more than I love my parents. I love this dope more than I love my kids. I said, I love this dope more than I love myself. I said, Heavenly Father, if you'll just take this addiction from me, I'll do everything I can. I said, I'll try. I said, God, give me a chance. Take this addiction. And it was just like, I'm not kidding, it's like God Corey said, I got you, boy. I got you. I felt his hands upon me. And I'm not playing theater here. I felt God's hands on me. There was 38 other men, big, ugly, hairy, stinking men in that pod, and I'm over there crying on the floor, and everybody just backed away. Nobody bothered me. That's the power of the God I serve. And I haven't done another drug since then. I never wanted it. I've never touched it. In October of 2002, God showed up in a jail cell, and he took that addiction from me. I experienced God's love again. I experienced, we see him every day in everything we do. But when you feel God in your presence, that is something else. And fast forward, I got one more. Fast forward, we're in January of 2010. Right. January of 2010, we're in Grand Plaza, Haiti, and I know you've heard Corey talk about it. And we built this church, and I won't give you all the details, but Brother Dewey Fisher was in there saying a prayer, going to turn this church over to the people. We're going to bless it by God's word. And then we heard a train coming down the hill. And Brother Dewey kept praying, and I know me and several other people thought, there ain't no trains in Haiti. And then you hear the rocks falling. And I thought, man, that's getting louder. Maybe it's a runaway truck coming down that mountain. Maybe we need to run or something. And Brother Dewey's still praying. And then the noise got so loud and the ground started waving. Rocks were waving. When you read in the Bible about earth moving, we know what that was. We felt it. The rocks were literally waving. And Brother Dewey finally quit praying, and we all run out of this building we were trying to dedicate to the people of Haiti. All the little kids were gone. We was the only white people. We was the only people standing there, just the white people, all been a bunch. And we was all scared to death. We wasn't scared of dying. We was scared of what was happening. We didn't know what was happening. And when I got outside the church, I thought, oh, Lord, where's Corey? I thought, because we knew the church was about to fall in, because rocks was springing at us and everything. And I went to run back in the church, and I near tripped him. He's on his hands and knees over here praising God. I don't know if he's praising God or if he's scared. He said he was praising God. But in that same moment, it was unaudible. Nobody heard it but me. Nobody felt it but me, because God spoke to me personally. He said, you're okay. You're okay. I mean, I felt God's arms around me. I mean, it was such a easy, mellow feeling. I knew we was going to be okay. Was we scared after that? Yeah, we were, a little bit. Until we talked to her parents, and we were like bubbling school kids. But I felt God's presence again. And I said all that to say this. I wanted to tell you about them times that God really showed up and showed out and bragged on himself, and I'm glad he did. And he bragged on me, and I can brag on him. If you've never had that experience with God, maybe you need to ask why. Because I've had it 4 times. I feel a little guilty because I plan on getting it some more. So when I sing this song, if you would, God's not dead. He hasn't given up. He hasn't turned his back on us. And as Christians, we wonder why the things of this world are going on like they are. I don't know. But I know God's still on my side, and I know God's still with me. So if you will, while I try to sing this song, think about a time when God's really been in your life. And now I done got dry mouth. I'm hoping I can do this. He puts flowers on the hill, and our cups he gladly fills. How can you turn around and say that God is dead? And when your stories have all been told, there's just one thing I'd like to know. If God is dead, then who's this living in my soul? And if my soul had windows, I'd leave them open so the world could see the ugly scars upon those hands that bled for you and me. And there's a bridge you can cross if you will. The toll was paid on Golgotha's hill. If God is dead, who's this living in my soul? He gives us shelter from life's stormy weather. He gives us love that'll keep us together when life is like a ship on a raging sea. And when the stage of life grows cold, he's there to help us to play our role. If God is dead, then who's this living in my soul? And if my soul had windows, I'd leave them open so the world could see the ugly scars
brother.